Hello, and thank you for joining our basic introduction to Edcite, our Assessments for Learning platform. Edcite offers tools for teams to give both formative and summative assessments. And while there's so many different ways you can use the platform, today this session will focus on being able to access your Edcite account and navigate the general interface, assign common assessments to students, review student data, and find additional materials in Edcite's item bank. Before we dive into all of the teacher pathways, I want to ground us in the student experience and what your students at the end of the day will do on Edcite. Students will use the same single sign-on through Clever. So they'll go to their Clever portal, they'll click on that Edcite tile, and it's going to bring them into their Edcite account where they can click on an assignment name or an assessment name to open that assessment. In this example, I've opened up an SBAC 2020 high school math assessment recreated on Edcite. You can see that Edcite aligns very well with that end of year state assessment. From the navigation at the top to the question types to the tools and accommodations that students or groups of students will have, Edcite makes sure that the student assessment experience aligns with what students are expected to know for the end of the year. This would be an example for an ELA assessment, in particular those Part A, Part B questions that we see so often on those end of year state tests. And this would be an example of, this is a kindergarten LPAC assessment recreated on Edcite to give you a sense of how you can use all of the question types that students are expected to know, like this record audio question type. But even beyond alignment to state expectations, what's nice about Edcite is that we have the tools, the question types, and the student experience to make sure that students can authentically show you what they know for a particular skill. So in this example, if I'm assessing speaking and listening skills, what better way to have students demonstrate that than actually speaking their answers? Now this is showing the student experience all the way through. I, as a student, logged in through Clever. I clicked on my assignment name. It opened my assessment. I navigate through my questions. Skipping here to the end of the assessment, I can see I've got table checkbox questions, graphing, math keypads. And then I can see a review page, make sure I've answered everything before I click Submit Final Answers. And at that point, the assessment is auto-graded and my teacher immediately has reports. To close out this quick section that highlights what the student experience is like on Edcite, what is one universal tool or tech-enhanced capability that you could intentionally incorporate into your classroom this school year? You know, if you're a math teacher, maybe you could use that paperclip option in the top left corner that is available on every question, where students can attach a picture of their scratch work. Or maybe if you're an ELA teacher like I was, you want to make sure that students are using their highlighter tools and really marking up that text in a digital format. So with that grounding in the student experience, let's dive into the teacher basics. Everyone is going to log in via Clever to access their Edcite account. And that's going to bring you into your teacher homepage where you can easily access shortcut buttons for monitoring live progress, grading, accessing reports, and you can find menus across the top for common assessments, reports, and the item bank. So first, let's talk about your homepage. I, as a teacher, go to Clever. I click on that Edcite tile. I'm brought here where I can see my classes already rostered from Clever, and I can see any assessments that have been assigned by me or an administrator to my students. In the top left corner of your homepage, you will see a toggle that says My Classes and Recent Assignments. When you're on the My Classes view, it shows you assignments sent to students broken down by each of your classes. This is really helpful if you're a secondary teacher teaching multiple periods or different courses. If I toggle over to the recent assignments view, instead of a box per class, I see one list of recent assignments that I've worked on. Whether I'm in the My Classes view of that toggle or recent assignments, I'm going to have easy shortcut buttons for the relevant and recent content. I can click on this See Live Progress shown with the orange arrow to see while students are working what question number they're on and how they're doing on the assessment. I can easily find the grade and report buttons outlined in orange over here on the right side of the page to pull up the grading interface for anything that requires grading, like a rubric or open response. And then I can click on Report to see item analysis, standards analysis, performance bands. There's a lot of data I can dig into. Now, across the top of your page, you'll see your menus. The areas of focus for this basic section are outlined in orange. So we're going to first start with the far right menu called Common Assessments. We'll then talk about this central menu, Reports, and then finally a bit about the item banks on Edcite. So let's talk Common Assessments. We're going to outline 3 steps for you to assign Common Assessments. First, you select Common Assessments in the top navigation bar. Second, you navigate to the correct folder wherever that assessment is hosted. And third, you click the green Assign button next to the test you wish to send to students. A quick note too, I've got a little star over here by the filter in case you want to easily find a very specific assessment and you have a long list. You can type in any keywords or phrases into that filter to limit what shows up here in this middle section. Once I click that green Assign button, it's going to open up my assignment scheduler. In that assignment scheduler, I can checkbox the classes that I want to send this to. I can set a start date, optional due date, and click Assign. Again, I click on that Assign button, and I've got my options to assign to classes. I can also assign to individual students or specific groups of students. Now that you know where to find common assessments and how to assign them to your classes, what is one assessment that your team could give as a common assessment in the coming weeks? Great. Well, let's say your team gives that common assessment. Now you want to dig into the data. Well, once you assign a common assessment, or really anything on Edcite, you have access to live progress and a ton of data to dig into. All of that data can be accessed from a few different spots within your Edcite account, so it easily fits into your process. For example, live progress can be accessed easily from the pop-up after you assign a test, in case you are going to immediately administer it, the home page, so it's easy to find upon logging in, during class time especially, and the Reports Hub, so you can find any assignment's live progress at any point. This is an example that shows live progress can be accessed right after you click that Assign button. You'll notice I click Assign, and I've got 3 options afterwards: Close, Manage Assignment, and View Live Progress. But maybe I assigned this, and I'm going to view the live progress next week. Well, when I log into Edcite next week, from my home page, I can also access live progress. Or if you just want to get it from the Reports Hub, you can click on your top navigation menu to Reports, and then in that first column of single assignment reports, select Live Progress. This is a GIF that shows the live progress report with demo data. As a teacher, I can see what question number a student is on and how they're doing on the assessment. I can also choose to view that data by class or by student. The class view is probably more helpful if you have multiple periods taking the same assessment and you want to get an idea of where each class is in terms of completion. After I'm done with the live progress report, I'll see that there are tabs across the top of the reports view where I can follow a logical progression of data analysis. After my live progress, I can move to my grading interface. Now, this is optional because Edcite will auto-grade any question that it can. But if you want to view student attachments or scratch work, if you want to listen to audio recordings, add comments or annotations to student work, grade on a rubric, or some of the additional student feedback options, you're going to do so on the grading page. This is also where you can turn in an assessment for a student that forgot to submit using our Force Submit option, or you can unsubmit an assessment for a student who may have pushed submit a little too quickly. But as I mentioned, that grading interface might not be necessary. If you're using something with all auto-graded questions, you can move directly to the summary report. And that's the best place to start your analysis. While you can access your summary report following that progression after live progress, I want to highlight 3 places you can find the summary report after logging into Edcite. You can find it on your Common Assessments page, your home page, and in the Reports Hub. From the Common Assessments page, you will notice next to that Assign button, where we originally assigned this common assessment, I have a Report button that will bring me to my summary report. From my home page, when I log in, I've got the assignments that have been sent to my classes recently, and I see a grade as well as a report button for each of those assignments. If I click on that report button, it brings me to the summary report. And if I want to find the summary report for any assessment given at any time, I can navigate to the Reports Hub using the menu at the top of the page and going to my third option in that single assignment first column that says Summary. And that also brings me to the summary report. Now, the summary report is my favorite place to start because it gives a nice visual at the top with the graph showing question average versus time spent, and then at the bottom giving me data in table form. And I can view that data by aggregate or overall, question by question, and by standard. And I can see that data in point or percentage form. I can use my drop-down to view this data by students or by classes. If you're an administrator, you also will have the option to view data summarized by school or teacher. But because this is a teacher-facing session, we're really just focused on that class and student view. Any of the reports on Edcite will allow me to export this data to CSV, copy to clipboard, or print the information. And at the very bottom of the page, I can see the minimum, maximum, standard deviation, the average for all of my students that took this assessment, and the average for everyone that took this common assessment on my team. From the summary report, I then like to dig deeper into additional reports. What is one way that you think you could use this report to drive further analysis? One way that I can think of is if I notice in my summary report that on a particular question, we have a low average performance, but a high amount of time spent. That might have been a difficult question that I want to dig into more. So I could go to my item analysis report and start to really look at the misconceptions and what answer choices students were providing. And then once I really know where the misconceptions are or where my students need additional practice or some enrichment, then I can turn to Edcite's item bank to find additional resources. So I'm going to highlight 2 menus where you can find already existing materials on Edcite. The first is in your questions menu. So outlined in red on your top navigation bar, you'll see questions. And underneath that, you'll see the question bank is also outlined in red. If I navigate to my question bank, I can search for individual items within Edcite's item bank and then package those as a short formative or a quick quiz or a longer standards-focused assessment to send to students. I can search by a particular keyword or phrase or choose to toggle into Browse Standard mode. I can preview the different questions by clicking this blue Show Full Question option on the right side of the page. I can use this filter right above that says State Released Items if I just want to see state test items from around the country. Even if they are made in a different state, we will present any exact skill matches with your relevant state standard. On the left side, I've got additional filters where I can filter by grade level, by subject. If I scroll down, I can see additional filters like auto-graded, includes multimedia. So there's a lot of searching capabilities in here, but the big takeaway is that I can go to my questions menu, navigate to my question bank, and search for individual items based on what I want to send to students. And once I find things I like, I just checkbox them and click Build Assignment. Another place where you can find existing materials ready to go on Edcite is under the Assignments menu. So if I click from my top navigation, Assignments, and then I click Library to enter into my Assignments library, I'll notice that I have the exact same search capabilities that I just saw in the question bank. I have filters on my left. I've got this toggle between search mode for keywords or phrases, or I can toggle to Browse Standards mode. I can filter by state release tests, and I can preview my material as I'm browsing through the assignments library. A couple things I want to point out about the assignments library specifically. Anything that I find, I can either click the green Assign button to send it to my students as is. I can click the Preview button next to Assign to get a quick scrollable print view of what that test looks like. I can also click these dots to open up a student view and actually navigate through the test just like a student would in that state-aligned interface. I can customize that assessment, so if I want to make modifications or mark it as a common assessment, I can do so with this Customize button. And then I've got this Move to Folder option where I can add an assignment to one of my own personal folders or into a folder that is shared with my colleagues. And the final spot I want to highlight existing materials on Edcite is, again, under that assignments menu, I can click on collections. And this is going to highlight Edcite assignments packaged based on a topic or a provider. You'll notice at the top of the page, we've got your state's aligned collections. So for California, we've got released SBACs that have been recreated on Edcite, the LPAC practice recreated on here. So I can click on any of these collections to find those materials ready to use. I can also scroll down to find other featured content like Achieve the Core materials, Eureka Math, Engage New York. There's a lot of really great resources ready to use. So as you look at your reports and you identify areas that you want to target with your students, definitely check out what Edcite has ready for you to quickly implement. So with that said, what is one skill for which you'd like to find additional practice to send to students? Once you've got that answered, that's the perfect time to go exploring Edcite's content banks. So with all of that said, I'd love to close out today's basic introduction to Edcite Schools, our premium school and district assessment platform, by revisiting the objectives we covered today. So at this point, we hope that you are able to access your Edcite account and navigate the main interface so you're able to assign common assessments to students, review student data, and find additional materials that already exist on Edcite. And as you continue using the platform, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact our team via email at schoolshelp@edcite.com, and definitely leverage our additional resources like our knowledge base, which can be accessed via the orange Help button at the bottom of your account. Check out our YouTube channel where we post short videos about building questions from scratch, developing your own common assessments. And we also have a training center, which has more targeted resources based on specific topics. So with that, thank you for your time, and we welcome you into our Edcite Schools community. Thanks so much.